they'd say the fourth thing that has to happen is the Federal Tax Bureau collects the taxes and disperses the resultant money to the assigned units of government from the federal government all the way down to the local garbage dump if that is a governmental unit. That disbursement is determined by law and there's no strings attached to the money. We mean there are no hidden rules that say you must do this or you must do that in order to get the money. These are what they call backdoor laws and are used to hide rules that the government doesn't want you to know about. They don't just pass a law, they let you see what they're doing, They don't just pass a law and let you see what they're doing in these backdoor laws. Rather, they attach rules to the accessing of the funds so that you don't know what's going on. If your government is going to pass a law, they must be accountable for it, which means that you must know about it. There must be a set amount of money given to each governmental unit that is funded by taxes. And that amount of money, there will be no strings attached to it. So they can't say, if you are, like abortion or something like that, something attached to it, that if you did this or if you don't do that, you don't get the money. It says here that you get the money no matter what. And basically they say if you want to make a law that makes whatever unit you're talking about do something, go ahead and put it out in front. Here's a new law. Look, they have to do such and such a thing. Well, it's right out in front and everybody sees it and they say, what do you do? Who's pushing that? Get that out of there, and then all of a sudden the people get what they want instead of the game players, the overchargers, the people that steal your money. It's one of the places they do it, and that comes to an end. The people that are bound determined that we're only 10% of the population, but we want everything our way. No, I don't think so. Let's make it, 51%. Then you might get to do it. And right out in front, right out in the open. So they say there must be a set amount of money given to each unit of government that is funded by taxes, and there's only one place to look for that funding, and that one place is where you can look if you want to see if there's theft going on, governmental waste, and so on and so forth. The $1 per week payment to the People's Trust News investigators will give you the watchdog, and the public trust laws will give you the punishment that you need. Wow. The money each unit gets can start with what they get now. As time goes by, that'll change as we get back the money that they're now taking from us for nothing. What'd they say? They said, is it going to be disrupting? The public dump is going to say, we get X amount of dollars now. And they say, could we please see your bookkeeping? And they show them the bookkeeping, and that's what they get. And the federal government, the Federal Tax Bureau says, okay, then you get that amount of money to start with this year. And everybody gets the same amount of money they got this year. And the whole year goes by, and then we go back and take a look at it. Because everything has changed, there's going to be a reduction in the costs. And if there's going to be a reduction in the cost, then the cost is going to go down. If businesses or the governmental units say everything stayed the same even though the cost went down, and what are they going to do with the extra money? You can't bank it and not have it seen. You can't take it as a new wage without it being seen. The People's Trust News doesn't take a look at it and say, all of a sudden all these people got raises. No, I don't think so. I mean, I didn't get a raise, you didn't get a raise. How come they're getting a raise? And you know how the system works, and you've got the lawmakers right at the top saying, we'll do things for you because we're not getting paid by the corporations or the people that steal your money, the overchargers. So then they go on and say the fifth change is that only individuals pay taxes. The first and greatest tax will be a sales tax. The second tax will be on those who wish to prevent abortion and have to pay for the cost of raising a child. We talked about that before. Third, we'll begin excessive income tax, and that's that percentage over $400,000 a year that you make, all the way up to $1 million a year in a given year, and at that point 100% will be taxed, so that you don't get any more than $1 million. There'll be no corporate tax, no truck tax, no property tax, no personal property tax, no sidewalk tax, no gasoline tax, no cigarette tax, and so forth. There'll be no tax on anything we buy except sales tax. And that sales tax will be greatly lowered or eliminated for those things that are deemed a minimum level of need. Now, remember, we were saying that before. If the minimum level person, and they said the tax would be lowered or maybe eliminated. If you're making a minimum level and you can live on it, then it won't be eliminated. You'll pay taxes. Yay for the wealthy. I'm going to say Republicans, but they're not all that way. But yay, everybody's going to pay a tax because it's a sales tax. And if you're doing okay, if you're you got a car and you got this and you got that, you'll pay a little bit for food and a little bit for this and a little bit for that, but not excessive, because you're in survival mode. It's like, how many places do you go where the retirees get a discount? And why? Because they're living on subsistence or less income. That's why. And so they give them a break. Well, we're doing the same thing. The things that subsistence people have to have won't be taxed as high. The things that are not a minimum level and there are things that you want, okay, go ahead and pay your federal income tax on them. And that's the way it should work. Then they go into, and this is a thing they go into again, but any money that is going to leave the country must be taxed as if it were a sale before it leaves. And what does that mean? It means no matter what you do, no matter how you try to get it, in other words, you're not going to bankroll a place that you live in France, because how are you going to get the money out? If you do it any other way than carrying it on your body, you're going to go through the federal government, because there's no bank. There's no entity of any kind that can transfer money out of the country. And when you transfer the money out of the country, the federal government looks at it and says, oh, you got to pay a tax on that. A sales tax, just like anything else. So any money coming in and any money going out is only going to go through the federal government, and they're going to look at it and decide, a fair amount being taxed, if any. And if you carry the money on you, it's pretty obvious. You get checked when you get to the airport, and you have to pay taxes on it, and you realize you're not going to get through the examination with anything that has any value if they're, and that's just a routine thing. You might buy diamonds and hide them somewhere, I don't know. It doesn't really make any difference. You'll try and you'll cheat and you'll this and you'll that, and if you end up going to another country and you have all kinds of money, then maybe somebody from here will go to you in that other country and say, where'd you get that money? And how did you get that money? And how did you get it? And they do a little investigating, and all of a sudden you're back in the United States in the legal system fighting for your freedom, which you won't have. So, good. Everything's fine. So they say the sixth thing that changed that will be that the only money any unit of any government, including schools, colleges, universities, or any public education system, can only spend the money that's given to them by the Federal Bureau. Why? Because the overchargers would like to buy your teachers at every level of education. Whatever law it takes to keep them away from education is what we must do. See, now here your hired government employees, your politicians are, what did you say? You say that this guy is being paid to teach what? by somebody besides the Federal Tax Bureau? I don't think so. It's against the law. So the person that's bribing and the professor or whoever who's teaching is in the legal system. So no government unit can collect any kind of money or spend any money except that which comes from the Federal Tax Bureau. That's a change. The seventh change will be affecting any and all money and things that enter and leave the country, like we were talking about. All monies entering or leaving the country will have to go through a branch of the Federal Tax Bureau. The Bureau will be the only place where money or things of any value can be moved either in or out of the country. See, oh, by the way, things. They see a Mercedes-Benz coming in or going out. I mean, obviously they're going to say, have you paid the taxes on that? And if you haven't, you will. And if you have, fine. Do whatever you want. So anything that has any value must be declared to that branch of the Federal Bureau, both coming into the country and leaving. That will give the federal government the ability to monitor anything of value to see that the sales tax are paid and to see that the sales tax are paid. The eighth and last change is the excessive income tax, and we've talked about that. And they say now is here a place where we just do not get it. We went into this before, so we could pass this by, but we just have to go over it again, and that's what they said. We got to go over it again and again. It's that important. What is the minimum wage for a worker? What could or should any other person who works or invests be expected to get for his or her labor or wisdom? 10 times the minimum wage? 20 times? 40 times? And they say, come on now, really? 40 times the minimum wage? Is anyone really worth 40 times a plumber or a McDonald's employee? Plumbers make more than minimum wage. McDonald's employees or anybody that just makes minimum wage. We say that no individual is ever worth 40 times minimum wage or even close. We suggest, however, that the top level, which we talked about before, is $400,000 a year. Anything over that is overcharging to the extreme. $400,000 a year. If you're making more than that, you're overcharging, plain and simple. And we're talking about less than 1% of all the people who work, or all the people who pay taxes, actually, and don't necessarily work. So they say make your $400,000 a year and pay your taxes and sales tax just like everybody else. Anything over that amount will be taxed at a percentage until you reach $1 million, at which point everything that's over the $1 million will be taken away from you and applied to the federal debt, and only the federal debt. And they said before, when the debt's paid off, it'll go into research and development by the government to find the best form of renewable energy. That should give us free energy someday. Yes, we are serious. However, you've been lied to so long by the overchargers that you will believe their lies too much and believe that someday you'll make that kind of income that we're talking about. And what are they saying there? They're saying that you're going to believe that you're going to make that kind of money, and so we're taking it away from you. You ain't never going to make that kind of money, and you know it if you think about it. And what are we actually saying? What did they say? They said, you're never going to make it, but here, we're going to give the money that keeps you from making that kind of money, we're going to give it to you. You don't even have to get up to that level before you start making more money, and that's the key. Those greedy people that think they're going to make over $400,000 a year, and they won't, will be getting more money either back in their pocket or left in their pocket, and that's the side of the thing that nobody sees. Everybody is going to make more money because these overchargers will stop overcharging. They don't have a choice. So if no one can make over $1 million a year, there'll be no point in charging more. There'll be no race. There'll be no contest. There'll be no better than the Joneses thing. There'll be much more money spent by those who are now in the lower middle class. And what does that mean? People in the lower and middle class spend money. The economy picks up. You don't have somebody buying some god-awful boat ship, if you will, that doesn't make anybody any money except the shipbuilder, and doesn't do anybody any good, really, if you get down to it. Whereas if you changed it and made it the way it should be, you have like 30 people making more money and they're spending it, and your economy picks up. And so you, as an individual who's never going to make $400,000 a year ever, and it's just insane to think that you're all of a sudden going to start making more money. And they say that's the thing that everybody's missing. You don't have to wait until you make the $400,000 you're never going to make. You don't have to be mad because it's being restricted past that point. You have to understand that you're going to get more money right down here where you are now. They go on and say that, that there are 1,000 reasons that you don't see, but even those will have to be seen first. So what they're doing is they're suggesting the top limit of income be changed to 50 times the minimum wage and locked there for good. And what does that mean? That means $1 million now. So they've talked about it before, and they try to get you to see that $1 million or 50 times the worth of a minimum wage person is quite enough, and anything more than that is overcharging. And then the next thing they say, of course, is, are they going to cry? You know who they are. And of course they are. You all cried when you lost your job so that they could make the kind of money that they're making now, and they said, that's life. Tough. Get over it. Live with it. So we guess you could say the same thing to them, except that they're still making $1 million a year, and they're going to have to struggle to survive with that amount. Anything over that, and they'll have to give it back to you as somewhat of a fine for overcharging. We could go on, but really? If you can't see it now, you never will until your income increases and the costs go way down. And basically here they say, let the others do the work for you, and and you'll still get the benefit if you can stand. And you're still going to get the benefit. However, you still have to stand and look at your face in the mirror. And why did they say that? Because you haven't done anything. And they say, or you could pay that horrendous $1 a week and support the work also. Okay. Now they want to get down to it. Why do we suggest all these changes? This could take hours and hours and hours of time and tons of paperwork. However, rather than do it that way, we would just give you the core argument and let you come to the understanding. Core argument. Number one, all taxes, licenses, and fees levied on business are just passed on to the customer in higher costs. Do you understand what we said? You pay for all taxes, all fees, all licenses levied on any business. You pay because the business just raises its price as those governmental charges are incurred. Add a new tax on business and immediately you get charged more for the product or service. And actually, they say you get charged for the increase plus an extra amount for services or difficulties. And what did they say? They said that almost every time a new tax or a new charge is charged to a business, they not only pass that on to you, but they pass on a little bit more for the service of charging you more. So the costs incurred by a business as it complies with the new rules and regulations of these taxes each year is staggering. And you understand, or will someday, you are paying the cost of a higher price for the product or service that they're giving you. And they say, number one, we would just eliminate those costs altogether. That's a core concept, core argument. Number two, all property tax is counterproductive if you want people to keep their property up. It costs a great amount of money to have a neighborhood deteriorate into slums. Also, if you want to stop or punish people who want to have better things, make it a law, and then try to push it down their throat. And they say up front again, you see. Anybody who has a house worth blah, blah, we're going to, will that pass? I don't think so. Would you want it to pass? I don't think so. But it's up front. So you say, no, put an end to that. So they say the intent of property tax was to keep the rich from owning all the good land and too much of it. It didn't work, nor is it the best way to accomplish that goal. Can't we just make a law saying the rich can't hoard all the land or can't have all the good land? Can't we do that up front so that everybody can see? Of course not. Not now, but if the advertisement was restricted and taken care of, could we? You bet. Now they go on. Number 3, taxes on cigarette, gasoline, alcohol, and the like are also attempt to put pressure on certain groups of people rather than solve the problem in an honest and upfront manner. What do they say? If you tax cigarettes and alcohol and you tax gasoline, those are all moral taxes, if you will. Not the gasoline, but we're trying to get you to not drive so doggone much. So they say, come on, get rid of those taxes and put it up front. You are not to drive more than X amount of miles. You are not allowed to smoke cigarettes. You shall not have alcohol. And just see what happens. You know exactly what's going to happen. But those are backdoor laws. And we want to get rid of those. We want everything up front. We want you to see exactly what your government is trying to. They're trying to manipulate your morals. They're trying to manipulate your activity. And if 51% of the people in the United States agree, go ahead, make it a law. But if 10% are the ones that are demanding it and the rest either couldn't care or don't want it, then put an end to that. Don't backdoor it. So they say the idea is to pass laws that are needed and wanted. If a good law isn't wanted, then drop it. Solve the problem that was created. Solve the problem it was creating in another angle. Find another way to solve the problem, or don't. You can't legislate morality. You can't tell people what they have to want. Except by advertising, which is against the law now. An attempt by anyone to shove their very questionable morality down everyone's throat using hidden rules or penalties must come to an end. What did they say? Same thing they said over and over again. Quit restricting our choices. Quit using morality, quit using religion, quit using prejudice, quit using whatever it is you're using to shove something down our throat to make us do what you want. That's put an end to it. Keep our society freer, and that was one of the things they said. That government is responsible to make you as free as possible within the laws that keep order, and that's what they're proposing here. So they always say the law must be up front, out in the open. If you expect to make your government a responsible one, all fees and licensing costs are just another way of collecting taxes. We would remove them and thus remove the hodgepodge means of collecting taxes. The taxes that we are presenting are 3 ways to get the money for government, and one truly easy way to see how much taxes or money we're paying. So again, they say the same thing. You're going to start seeing it. 4, way too many of the business decisions are made on the basis of how much or what effect the tax liability will be on that decision. Is that a way to run a business? Do you truly want your company to fire you just because you somehow cause their taxes to be more? In the total picture of business, taxes have been a very negative part. Let business tend to business, not welfare, health plans, income assurance, tax collection, and the like. Let them make business decisions with business as the basis. That'll be hard enough. Okay, you saw that fundamental philosophy over and over again. Number 5, what about cheaters? For almost all of us, the tax system will be designed to tax only the money we spend, and thus will be much easier to find the cheater. The Federal Tax Bureau field agent will go to the neighborhood of a person under examination and ask and look. They're not going to go in your house, but they're going to be outside talking to neighbors and saying, how many boats, how come they got so many boats and so many cars, and so, that they got way more than anybody else. Well, it would appear that the cheating, let's find out how. examination, examiners, field agents that are doing the examination, you know, that would terrify anybody. You don't have paperwork to show that you're not doing anything. You have these damn examiners out there asking, seeing you out with 3 boats for your kids and so on and so forth, that nobody else can afford. And at $400,000, believe me, you'll be able to have 3 boats for your kids. We're just saying that ultimately, if you can't spend the money to get whatever it is that you want, why bother? And that's what they're actually, the 5th basic concept is, what about cheaters? And they say that's pretty much taken care of. Too many new things, too many vacations, too many investments, and the person has to explain where the money came from. And if they can't spend it or use it, what good is it? Pay the taxes and be able to use it. Okay. Those who would hide their income gains in the form of business expenses will have to deal with investigators too. Those who would hide their income gains in the form of business expenses would have to deal with investigators too. A vacation hidden in the form of a business expense had better be provable. Business is business. Vacations, dinners, parties, and the like are all bribes. All businesses can be done, almost all business can be done in an office. Almost all business can probably be done at home. If you choose a more pleasant atmosphere, make it a walk in the park or a drive. Have lunch, but don't go over the limit of normal lunch. Or if you choose to do so, make that extra cost in your tremendous lunch and 10 martinis, put it on your income. Then there'll be no question about the true intent. If you must do a vacation, dinner, parties, things, then let it become part of your income at its true value. But you know, and what they say is, what everybody's going to say is, that isn't the way we do business. And their answer is, believe us, we know. So, you know, if you're working at McDonald's, you can't even have a hamburger for free. So if they're working for a company, why did they get this fantastic dinner for free? It's out, and they're, you know, you're going to have investigators that are going to investigate. The Federal Tax Bureau is going to investigate, and you're going to have to pay. So they say, do you see now where we're going? Your new government units get the money from all manner of places. They spend every cent they get and put you in debt for more. Stop the pretense. Look at the total package of income collected by your government units. Can't you see why there's such a hodgepodge? They are collecting your money, and you are paying for it. If we truly see the facts, then we can also begin to see how ridiculous and how hidden it is. If they get the money anyway, why not collect it in the most cost-efficient manner possible, and then distribute it in the most cost-efficient manner possible? Make them collect the money up front where you can see it. Make them spend it where you can see it. And as you start a campaign to bring this concept into reality, watch who resists your efforts. Ask yourself why each one who resists is doing so. You know what they're saying. They go on and say, for those who don't understand all this financial stuff, we put it very simply. The reason we recommend the tax the way we do is as the only source of income for all government units is so that you can see how much money you pay for what the government unit does. Your government can't hide taxes all over the place if there's only one of 3 taxes. And 2 of those 3 taxes aren't even used to pay what the government's doing. Besides, it's much cheaper to collect that way. If you were to know how much it costs you to have the government collect their taxes now, you'd put a stop to all those gains for that reason all by itself. Business and corporation tax is only passed on to you, and it costs too much to collect what is being passed on to you. To go on even further with those who do not understand all this financial stuff, we are going to give you in the next 2 segments the videos, and if you're just listening to it, there is people that are talking about it. But anyway, it makes it a lot clearer for those who need to not be listening to the information or reading it, since these are videos and kind of used to watching videos. So for those who have a problem understanding, I kind of think by the time you're done with these 2 videos that are coming up, you'll understand very clearly that at least if the money that was available was spread out, we'd all do a lot better.